Okay, now we're going to take a look at 1-7. This is a pretty beefy level. So let's take a look at full speed. The time is 22.6 seconds. Basically, the optimization here is just getting kind of the fewest barrels involved in this process possible. And then as early as we can, getting the Reaper to turn to the left and shoot midair to hit that barrel, so that we don't have to wait for a whole bunch of barrels to explode for us to get the key. So now we're going to take a look at in frame advanced mode. And again, since it's 22.5 seconds, it will be a little bit lengthy. Basic idea is to get this switch pressed as quickly as possible. So even though it looks like I'm kind of lackadaisical, I am actually hitting it about as quick as you possibly can, and then I'm dropping Henry on top of it. And now I'm going to trigger the other switch. So the left switch causes barrels to be sent down, and the right switch flops the platforms, as you see. So I need the top platform to be up first so that I can send the first barrel to go all the way to the right. Basically, I want to be able to take advantage of the way I need to use these switches in order to get the barrels in the right place as quickly as possible. I also recall Henry a little early, so that I only send 5 barrels down. That's just to make it look cleaner. I don't need the other barrels, and they're just going to get in the way and make things more complicated. So now I have these 5 barrels going. As soon as the first one gets off of the platforms controlled by this switch, I'm going to step off the switch. I want these barrels to then drop. I want the first of those barrels to go to the right, which it will, and then I trigger the switch again to cause the other 3 to fall down. So I'm going to have 1 barrel on top, 1 barrel in the middle, and 3 barrels on the bottom. And I actually need to have a 6th thing on the right hitting that 6th switch. So I'm going to use the goat. And as it happens, I end up getting to the switch in time that I'm still waiting for the barrels to hit the bottom switches, so I'm not wasting any frames by using the goat here. Now the conveyor belts trigger, and once the conveyor belts trigger, everything's all good. It doesn't matter if the switches keep being held down. So the barrel starts moving, and an ice block drops above. That ice block is going to allow the Reaper at the top to fall down, which is good. I need that. Meanwhile, I'm going to land on this barrel, and there's this awesome animation that the goat has when he's riding on top of a barrel. And so I'm going to dash to the right and land on top of this other barrel, and I'm going to do a swag midair kind of standing thing that looks fun. So the barrel is going to keep going. They're going to hold down that switch that Henry was previously holding down, so that top platform is going to stay depressed. Now the Reaper is going to fall. The platforms come back up just in time. Now they will drop again because the barrels go off the switch. I am now going to walk off at this exact moment. What's going to happen is, notice that there's 5 individual parts of this platform. I'm going to trigger the platform to flop down so that the Reaper drops through it, but then I'm going to release it immediately so that they flop back up. But as long as there's an object in the way of one of the platforms, it cannot unflop itself, basically. So watch what happens. He starts dropping through, then the platforms unswitch themselves, but he's already dropping, so his horizontal momentum to the right causes him to collide with the rightmost platform, and that causes him to turn around midair. I now jump with exact timing so that he, while kind of far up in the air, he starts firing a fireball, but because that takes several frames, by the time he shoots it, he's already at the level where it will hit the top of those 5 barrels. Now the reason it's important for him to hit the top barrel is that when that barrel explodes, it will immediately catch the crate above on fire. If instead the fireball hit the bottom row of barrels, I would have to wait for all 5 barrels to explode, because the rightmost barrel would explode, it would catch the next one on fire, then that would explode and catch the next one on fire, that would explode and catch the bottom left barrel on fire, finally that would explode, catch the top barrel on fire, that would fall to the ground, and then explode, and that would actually cause increased travel time for that explosion. So all of this means that it would be a giant waste of time. So unfortunately I have the fireball going at the top row. I'm going to land here, immediately jump back over the fireball, and I don't want to drop Henry to eat the fireball, obviously, so instead I drop him afterwards to block the explosion of the barrel so that I don't have to go anywhere. Again, this is just a little bit of swag. I could stand on the switch, I could stand up above, I could stand almost anywhere else, but instead I stand here and let the explosion kind of go off in front of me. Now I'm just going to wait until the crate above burns. Once it burns, it'll trigger the exploding boxes above that. And now I just need to be careful about my timing dashing in here. As it happens, with the dash, because there's those 18 frames of delay before you can jump, it turns out that all the explosions dissipate before I can jump. And now I did a lot of testing and figured out that this is the optimal height that you can jump to catch the key, land on the ground as early as possible, and then boost jump to be able to get into the door on pretty much the exact frame that the door unlocks. So everything else would be slower.